Struggling with poor soil? Try this easy fix. If your soil looks dry, compacted, and lifeless, no matter how much compost you add, you're probably fixing the wrong problem. That's the mistake. Most gardeners keep adding inputs on top: compost, fertilizer, mulch, without addressing what's happening underneath. Before we get into the fix that actually works, there's one small habit that makes everything more consistent. I keep a steady flow of clean organic material coming from the kitchen using a sealed countertop compost bin. It prevents the common issue of scraps drying out, smelling, or decomposing the wrong way before they even reach the soil. The one I use has charcoal filters that completely control odor, so I can collect daily without any mess. I'll leave the exact one I use in the description if you want to check it out. That steady input becomes important once you start rebuilding soil properly. Now here's where things start to change. The real problem isn't lack of nutrients, it's dead soil structure. Most poor soil isn't actually lacking nutrients, it's lacking structure and biology. When soil is compacted, roots can't penetrate deeply. Water either runs off or pools without being absorbed. Microbial activity drops and nutrients become locked instead of available. That's why adding more fertilizer doesn't solve the problem. You're adding nutrients into a system that can't process them. The fix isn't more input, it's rebuilding how the soil functions. This easy fix works because it targets the root of the problem. What I've found consistently effective is combining two simple actions: loosening the top layer without disturbing deeper soil, and introducing biologically active material directly where it matters. Start by lightly breaking up the top 2 to 3 inches of soil. Not deep digging, not turning the whole bed, just enough to open the surface. Then apply a layer of well-prepared organic matter, compost or leaf mold, about 1 to 2 inches thick. But here's the part most people skip, and it's the reason this works. You don't leave it on top. You lightly integrate it into that top layer so it actually connects with the soil. That small step makes a huge difference. In one of my raised beds, I tested this side by side. One section had compost left on top, the other had compost lightly worked into the top layer. Within a few weeks, the integrated section showed better moisture retention and stronger plant growth. That's not about adding more, it's about placement. This is where moisture becomes the deciding factor. Once you've introduced organic material, moisture determines whether the system improves or stalls. Soil should stay consistently damp, not wet, and not dry. If it dries out, microbial activity slows down. If it stays too wet, oxygen levels drop and the system becomes anaerobic. This is where mulch plays a supporting role. A 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch on top helps stabilize moisture and temperature. It protects the work you've done underneath. But mulch alone won't fix poor soil. It only supports a system that's already been activated. The hidden role of soil life, and why most fixes fail without it. Healthy soil isn't just about physical structure, it's about biology. Microbes break down organic matter into plant-available nutrients. Worms improve aeration and create channels for water movement. Without this activity, soil remains inert. This is why simply adding sand, fertilizer, or even compost without proper integration often fails. You're not building a living system, you're just adding materials. Once biology is active, everything changes. What happens after 2 to 3 weeks will tell you if it's working. If the fix is working, the first change you'll notice is in the soil itself. It becomes softer, darker, and easier to work. Water starts penetrating instead of running off. The surface doesn't crust as quickly. Then plants respond. Growth becomes more consistent. Leaves develop a deeper green color. New growth appears stronger. In one of my backyard plots, this shift happened within a month. The same crops that were struggling started producing steadily once the soil structure improved. That's not a coincidence. That's the system starting to function. This is why deep digging can actually make things worse. A lot of advice recommends turning the soil deeply to fix compaction. In some cases that works temporarily, but it also disrupts existing microbial networks and can bring poor subsoil to the surface. What I've found works better is minimal disturbance combined with consistent improvement at the top layer. Over time, worms and microbes do the deeper work for you. This approach builds structure gradually without resetting progress. This method works across different growing systems. In raised beds, it stabilizes soil quickly because the environment is more controlled. In backyard gardens, it helps rebuild soil that's been compacted or depleted over time. In containers, the same principle applies, but on a smaller scale. Lightly loosening the top layer and adding organic material improves airflow and water retention. In hydroponic transitions, introducing structured, biologically active soil helps roots adapt more easily when moving out of water systems. The process is simple, but the impact is consistent. If you're serious about improving your soil, this is where things start to shift. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, because this is the kind of practical approach that actually delivers results. The mistake that keeps people stuck with poor soil: inconsistency. Doing this once won't permanently fix your soil. It needs to be repeated over time. Small, regular additions of organic material combined with proper moisture management gradually rebuild the system. Think of it as maintaining the soil, not fixing it once. This is where that steady kitchen waste collection becomes useful again. Having a consistent supply of organic material allows you to keep feeding the system instead of waiting for large batches. The real takeaway isn't the method, it's the mindset. Poor soil isn't a single problem with a single solution. It's a system that needs to be rebuilt. When you focus on structure, biology, and consistency, you stop chasing quick fixes and start seeing long-term improvement. And once that system is in place, everything else becomes easier. Watering, feeding, plant health, they all improve because the soil is finally doing its job. At the end of the day, serious gardening comes down to understanding how soil works and using that knowledge to your advantage. If this helped you rethink how you're approaching poor soil, subscribe and share it with someone who's still adding inputs on top and wondering why nothing is changing.